Hello and welcome to the Busy Mum Show, the show to help moms and their families thrive. I'm your host, Dr. Leonaura Rhodes, and today I'm going to be interviewing Anita Johnson, and we're going to be talking about money wisdom for women. Before I get on with the interview, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the concept for the show. I've been helping women and their families for over 20 years as a physician, coach, neurotherapist, and with my book, Beyond Soccer Mom, Strategies for a Fabulous Balanced Life. The next natural step for me was to bring you interviews with top experts on issues ranging from health through to parenting, fashion through to finance. So, without further ado, let's get on with today's show. So today I'm going to be talking to Anita Johnson. Anita is a financial advisor and founder of Money Wisdom for Women. She's an author, speaker, and radio show host, and she's a committed advocate of women and their finances. Her book, Big Girls Don't Cry, Taking the Emotions Out of Finance, is available online. So welcome, Anita. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Anita, as you know, I'm a coach and I meet women every day who are struggling with their finances. So, could we talk about why money is so difficult for women, and so many women seem to have bad habits when it comes to their finances?
Oh wow, yeah. I seem to have clients that come to me that same way as well. What happens is, in the past we have been not really focused on our finances. We've been focused on our families, which is rightly so. And we've always been, some of us have been taught, not to worry about that. That is somebody else's responsibility. Get married, do such and such. And that's still kind of, in certain parts of the country, it's still like that. But we do have unhealthy habits that contribute to it, not knowing, not understanding, not wanting to understand, not really paying attention to our finances. But more or less, it has to do with a lot of policies too, as well. Uh, that have been like, the wage gap for women. That seems to be also something that keeps them from earning enough money for retirement or living in poverty, being out of the workforce more often than men because they're raising families or taking care of elderly parents. And so those tend to be some areas that we work on as women. What can we do? And if we have great partners, that also helps us as well.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned, our upbringing and also, the kind of, not to get really into politics, but, unfortunately, society is still not making it easy for women to earn enough money and to manage their money. And,
Right.
it's an incredibly great shame that, a woman and a man can be doing the same job and earning different amounts of money. It's kind of outrageous
Mhm.
that that's allowed to carry
Yeah.
on.
It can be,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, how can somebody change their bad habits? I mean, we all know that we have them, and many of us don't even know what they are. But how do we even begin to get started undoing years and years of bad financial habits?
Wow, what a great question. Well, one of the things is, when people come to me, when clients come to me, one of the things that we first start talking about, I have these 20 questions that I ask them, which will probably be, and I'll probably will be expanding those. But some of the questions I ask is, what was your family like growing up as far as around money? Who handled the money, and was there any fights that came along with money? And I don't mean physical fights; I just mean discussions. Maybe I should say discussions, heated discussions
Yeah.
around money. And was that somebody that always controlled the money? Um, So those are the kinds of questions. And, then I say, what are your financial successes? And what do you know about credit card debt? Do you know what your interest rate on your credit cards are?
Yeah.
So we start off with the 20 questions like that. So I get somebody's attention that way. Then we get into maybe tracking your finances. We get into what's your debt. What can we do to eliminate some of your debt? And so those are some of the things that we talk about in those 20 questions. We work on with those 20 questions.
Excellent. So you mentioned tracking your money and then having a financial spending plan. Can you go into that in a little bit more detail? Because I know in your
Sure.
book you elaborate that a lot, and it's really fascinating stuff. And I don't know that I know any women that are doing this.
Yeah, when we talk about tracking, what I kind of do, we used to have the word called budget, and budget is such a I think to me it's a negative word. What normally happens is that, okay, we pull a number out of our hat and says, okay, this is what we're going to be spending on clothing for a month, or this is what we're going to be spending on um, um, food, or for the children's education, or things of that nature. And it's really kind of a number that we pull out of our hat, as opposed to a number that is that's the true number, or is close to the true number. So what I've always had my clients do is start start tracking your finances. Just continue to spend the way you've been spending. Don't stop spending. Just write down everything that you're doing. Write down and categorize them. And see how that works for you. And then once you have that, we've done that for 3 months, then we're going to average that number out, and then we're going to add about 2, maybe 5% more to that number. Or if you want to just add a solid number like $50, say
Mm.
for instance you got $100 in a category, and you say, well, I need to add maybe $50 more. So now the number is $150 for whatever category we're talking about. So that's where we're going to go. That ends up being our financial spending plan, which happens to be a better number, or a closer number than just pulling the number out of our hats, because now we have a solid number. We have a solid number. That's what we want to do. That's kind of where we are with that. And I think that is a better number
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
than any of the other numbers. Hmm.
And it's quite shocking sometimes when you do start tracking. I did start tracking last year, and when I realized how much I was spending on groceries every month, I was really horrified. And when I told my husband how much we were spending on just food, he
Uh-huh,
couldn't believe
uh-huh.
it. And it's expensive to eat, and especially expensive if you can buy, a lot of fruit and vegetables, and they
Right.
are
Mhm.
expensive, and it really mounts up. And
Mhm.
once you start
Right.
getting more aware, then you start noticing prices of things in the store. You start kind of shopping around a little bit more, and just giving more attention to it. And
Mm.
it can
Mhm.
dramatically, I totally agree, it can dramatically change your focus and your habits as well, your spending habits. When you realize that you're spending
Right.
that much money on one certain thing, then you start to question that, and you start to, next time you go to spend money on that thing, you start to say, do I really need this, or is there something that would be better to spend it on? And
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that
Mhm.
information is so incredibly useful.
Mhm.
Um,
Definitely. Yeah.
do you
It
recommend?
definitely helps.
Yeah, do you recommend that people track their finances kind of on a daily basis, or weekly, or monthly?
Well, when you're first starting out, you want to try to track it daily. And I
Mm.
know it can be cumbersome, but what you're trying to do is you're really trying to find out where you are spending your money. And you'll be surprised at when you start tracking. Sometimes you won't spend. because you like, oh, I have to write that down. Did I
Yep.
really spend that much on that? You start thinking about those things. So you want to track it. You want to track it every day, I think.
Yes.
It should be tracked every day, and then once you start, once you start tracking, then you're going to spend some time putting those numbers together, putting the financial plan together,
Yep.
keeping your receipts and things like that, and then you can spend once a week,
Hmm.
compiling those receipts and those tracking things together at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what about if
Hmm.
people find that that their income nowhere near meets their what they're currently spending? I
Mm.
mean, how that must be
Wow.
very overwhelming for some people to suddenly realize that, gosh, I'm sure they were aware of it, but just weren't giving it much attention. It must be kind of
Right.
scary. And so how do you help women through that process when they realize, wow, I really need to do something about this?
Wow. Yeah, and you would say, and I would say that's probably 9 out of 10 people,
Wow.
because once you start tracking, then of course, yeah, you realize that, oh my goodness, I either don't have enough money to live off of, or I've been spending it in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's an overwhelming thought. And so how you deal with that is that you try to free up some. I try to help them free up some money that they're already currently earning.
Yeah.
I don't suggest. I don't. This is one thing I don't suggest, and it could be I should suggest it, but I don't suggest it. Is to get another job,
Mm.
a side job, or either a side business, unless we have tax issues. Then that
Okay.
becomes something else. Yeah,
Yes.
but I don't recommend that because you still don't have the understanding of managing money. So that's what this is all about, is really managing money. So you have to manage what you have. And if you start managing what you have and you feel that you don't have enough after you've managed it, after you've gotten all the credit card debt down, or maybe you've moved into a smaller home,
Yeah.
that might be something that somebody might want to do. If you can't afford the home that you're in, you may want to get you may want to do a couple things. You may want to rent your house out and get yourself a smaller home, or you just may want to sell it.
Yeah.
Um, it depends on what that person wants, or maybe you might want to move to an apartment. It just depends on how that happens. But and so that's how we have to start at that point, is we have to start doing looking at that. Like I said, I don't necessarily suggest that somebody go get they already have a job, a 9 to 5 maybe, right? But I don't suggest that they go get a night job or a part-time job. I suggest first that we look at your spending and changing the spending habits and freeing up some money that way. Now, if you need that afterwards, then maybe you should just go get another job that's
Yes.
earning more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it's interesting with coaching people about health issues as well. It's the same kind of scenario. You need to start where you are now. It really
Hmm.
overwhelms people if you try and change everything at once. If I was to say to
Right.
somebody who, wanted to lose 20 pounds, then, you have to start exercising 5 times a week, and you have to change your diet, and you have to sleep
Right.
better, and this big long list of things. It's totally overwhelming. And then people tend not to do it. As soon as it
Hmm.
becomes big and onerous, and the brain just kind of shuts down and starts kind of singing blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
um
Exactly. Uh huh. Uh huh.
so so Anita,
Definitely.
do you have any recommendations for most of our listeners are mothers, about how women can kind of begin to educate their kids? Because this is a problem that
Mm.
each generation creates for their own kids, and it's kind of it
Hmm.
strikes me there's a big opportunity to actually help prevent the next generation finding themselves in such difficulties as our generation does.
Well, yeah, that is definitely true when
Mm,
it comes to the kids, because we kind of pass some of that off to them
Yep.
sometimes. So some of the things that you might want to start with your kids, depending on what age they are. Um, if they are in first grade, second grade, you may want to start showing them about what nickels and quarters and dollars and things look like, and how it works. When they're spending, and you get into the junior high, um, you may want to have them work for I don't necessarily believe that children should do chores around the house and get paid. I think they should just do chores anyway because they live there.
Yep.
But especially when it comes to cleaning their room, it's like, oh, clean your room, you get paid. Oh
Yeah.
no, not really. uh, um, one thing I think probably would be good for me, what I did with my kids when they were growing up, is that they had to read books and do reports
Yep.
on the books. And so they got their allowance that way. And
Yes.
so that did two things, or it may have done more than two things, but the two things that I thought what they did is they got an opportunity to read, and they
Yep.
could read anything that they wanted. So they learned how to read, and then also they earned money, and they could, they were able to have their own money, and so they could spend their money any way that they wanted to. It was theirs.
Yep.
Okay. And if they wanted something, then they could spend it. And so that's how I did with my children as growing up. So you want to invite your kids to maybe even sit down with you to go over some of the bills and how the household is run. And that will, so when they start asking for things and they be like, oh no, there's not enough money. Now you might not want to show them everything, because sometimes we got something in the side pocket,
Yeah.
a little savings or something in the side pocket. And if they know we got the side pocket money, they might ask for that. So, you
Yes,
know,
absolutely.
kind of show them, some things, and let them go from there, and just get them involved in it.
Yeah.
My daughter had two jobs in high school, and she had two jobs, and she went to high school. So she
Yes.
bought her first car before she even got out of high school. So she was real. So she's still the same way when it comes to her money. She's still, she'll work two or three jobs, just to get stuff. Yeah,
That's
but
great. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that respect, you're instilling an early respect for money
Mhm.
is so incredibly important for our kids. And I've always,
Right.
I've always made my children with kind of big ticket items. I mean, they both needed a
Mm.
computer for school, um, and I made them pay half of it. So whatever they had.
Mm.
Um, One son was able to afford a Mac, and the other one was
Mm.
only able to afford a very cheap computer because he spends all his money on stuff. And so, but it was a
Isn't that
good
something?
yeah, it was a good lesson for them both, to
Mhm.
realize that, if you're careful with your money and you save it for the things that you really, really want, then you get nicer
Mhm.
things in your life. And
Right.
so, yeah,
I love
that's
it.
fantastic advice. So, Anita, can you tell us how the viewers can get in touch with you? Can you give us your website address and just tell us what you've got going on that people can check out or access?
Okay, sure, no problem. Um, you can actually find me. I'm all over Facebook under Money Wisdom for Women, our fan page there. You can also email me at moneywisdomforwomen@gmail.com. That's moneywisdomforwomen@gmail.com. Our phone number is 916-572-9033. 916-572-9033. And on our fan page on the Facebook, and of course we're on Twitter, and we're on LinkedIn under Money Wisdom for Women. But on our fan page on the Facebook page, we actually have all the dates of all the workshops, and most of our workshops are online.
Yeah,
So you can download them at any time. Some of them are live, but the majority of them you can download them and get them at your own pace.
great. That's fabulous. And I would urge everybody to check out Anita's book, Big Girls Don't Cry. Taking the Emotions Out of Finance. It really is a very useful book, and it goes kind of
Yes.
It has worksheets in it that you kind of go through, and the questions that Anita was talking about. It really is a very useful little book if you want to take some control of your financial situation, which I think there would be a lot less stress in the world if we all felt a bit more settled. So,
I
well,
love it.
thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Anita. It's been a real treat talking to you, and I'm sure our viewers will be, will want to rush off and find out more information. So, thank you
Well,
so
thank you.
much. So thank you so much for joining us on this show today. I'm sure you found that information from Anita really, really useful. If you enjoyed this show, please like, share and subscribe, and head on over to thebusymumshow.com to watch more of the shows. Now go out there and have a fabulous day. Bye for now.